Hi, this is Scott with eTrailer. Today we're taking a look at and installing our Roadmaster base plate for 2025 Ford F-150. So we get asked a lot what you're going to need to get all set up for flat towing, and you're going to need a base plate, you're going to need a tow bar, you'll need safety cables, you'll need tow bar wiring, and some form of a braking system. Other than that, one of the things we do usually recommend is a Chargeline kit. What that's going to do for you is make sure your vehicle battery has charged once you get to your destination. That's going to allow your RV to trickle charge your battery through the system while you're cruising down the road with flat towing your vehicle. So this is what it's going to look like on your F-150 once you have this base plate all installed. I really like the way this one looks. Everything's hid really nicely. Everything's tucked away. There isn't really anything that sticks out. Most of the time your breakaway switch sticks out and it doesn't really look good at all. The way this one's set up is it's all tucked in behind and it's out of the way and you don't see it. So when you're driving around and you're not flat towing, this is what it's going to look like. So it's going to look almost like it's not even there. So I really like that. Another thing that's nice about this one as well is your base plates, the arms and anything don't really stick out very far. So when you're walking by, you're not going to be bumping into them with your legs and or anything. And it just hides away kind of in the area of where your tow loops were. So it just replaces that area and it just looks really nice overall. Another nice thing about this one is how easy it is to hook up. All you're going to do is just put that in there like that. Give it a quarter turn to let your pin seat up. Then you're just going to take your tow bar end, get that brought up, put into place. Put your pin through, line up your pin with your hole. Get that clip down into place. Then we can take our safety cable, get that installed onto our safety cable loop. That tighten down a little bit. Then all you have to do is plug in your wiring. Then you want to hook up your air, which would be your one of your main components for your flat tow, and you're on your way. So this is what it's going to look like after you have it all hooked up. Now there are a couple other things to consider after you get it all installed. You may want to have to end up getting a high-low adapter like we did today. So we did to drop ours down a little bit. So you want to take a look at your measurement. After you get your base plate installed, you want to measure your hitch, and then you want to measure where you're centered at on your base plate. And with that number, you want to be within 3 inches of each other, and that way you're good and safe to tow. So with a high-low adapter, what that's going to do for you is drop you down and get you in that safe range. So if you have any questions or comments about this setup for your F-150, feel free to leave us a comment down below or let us know how you're using it if you already have it on yours. You can also get a hold of one of our experts here at eTrailer if you have any questions. Now, as far as installation goes, it is pretty tough to do and it is pretty in detailed. So if it's something you don't have time to do yourself, or you really don't have the area that you can work in, or you don't have the tools, you can always take a look at our dealer locator and get something done for you locally. If you feel like tackling it yourself, stick around, watch our video, and we'll help you get it installed. To start our installation, we have the hood of our F-150 opened up, and our main goal right now is we need to get these little clips out and we need to remove this upper panel underneath of our hood. Now to do that, I recommend you have a trim panel tool like I have here. We do have these available here at eTrailer and they come in handy when you're doing this type of stuff. Now I'm going to start with this one right back here and just going to get under this one with my tool and pop that center out on both of those. Just want to find the edge with a slot. Goes up, pull those out. If the center of those come out, don't worry about that. You can always pop those back in place. Now all we're going to do is remove these little clips. We call these Christmas tree clips, and we're going to do this all the way across this whole panel just to get this to remove. All we do with these is just get under these with our trim panel tool and just work that out. And then I do recommend having a place where you're going to keep all these all separate, because you're going to have a bunch of different fasteners as we do this. Now with the ones right here that we see on our grill where it's kind of indented in, we're going to leave those in place. All the other ones across here, we're going to remove. With all of our clips out of the way, we can just lift up our air inlet and pull our plastic panel out of the way. Underneath of that panel, we're going to have a couple electric connectors we're going to need to remove. With this one right here, it looks like a little sensor wire. I'm going to push down on the back of that. Now with this other one, we're going to have a little red clip. Pull up on that. And underneath of our clip, there's going to be a little black tab. Just pull up on that. Push that in and pull that back. On this one, we're going to have a little plastic Christmas tree. Just need to pull up on that and get that out of the way. Now we can just put that back out of the way so it doesn't interfere when we remove our grill. Underneath the panel we've removed, we're going to have 4 10mm bolts. Just want to work across and get those removed. For the next step, we're going to have this lower panel that runs underneath of our grill and just above our bumper. On each side, we're going to have 2 7mm screws. We want to get those removed on both sides. After we have those out on both sides, we just want to pull across this steady pressure, and that's going to unpop that, and we'll get that broke loose on both sides. Once we get to this point and we have both of these sides pulled back, there's going to be a series of clips all along this front, and right over here is where it's really going to hold you up along this edge, and you're going to have one right here in this corner, and you're just going to have to keep working at it. What I've been doing is using a flat trim panel tool and just kind of pushing down on that while I'm putting pressure on pulling that back. It's kind of hard to show you guys how to do that, but you just kind of keep tugging at it, keep pressure on this side while you're working in there with the clip, and eventually this will get popped out. And we'll just work it all the way across and pop our clips loose. Once we get this corner worked out, you can see it's a little tab that just locks in there. That's going to make it a little bit easier for us to move along and get the rest of them clipped, and then we can set this aside. Once that's out of the way, we're going to have a 10mm bolt that's right in this pocket. Don't worry about the one over here to the right. The one that's in this area here is the one we want to get removed, and we'll do that on both sides. With everything out of the way and our 2 bolts undone, we're going to get our grill pulled back. We just want to pull that straight back. Now keep in mind, depending on your trim package, you may have some wires behind here. So I like to slowly go along and just get it removed and pulled back on both sides. And there may be alignment pins holding it in place. Once we have that all pulled back, we can get this set aside. After that's all out of the way, we have this big harness that's down here on the frame. Just want to pop this up, and we're going to unplug this. So we're going to push down on the tab where we have this gray buckle and just flip that back, and that should allow us to just unplug that and set that aside. Now that's going to come off with our bumper. We're going to have another harness right here, and that's going to go back. So we need to disconnect this one and just pull the red tab back, push down on the black, pull our wiring harness apart. Now that should all stay with our bumper when we remove it. This part here, we're going to have two little plastic clips that hold it in place. This one we can just pull up on, and it just friction holds on there. This other one, we can either just pull up on it, wiggle that out. We'll have one more underneath of our plug. Now we can set that aside. Now, as we can see, we do have our harness here, and I found another plug-in down here we need to get removed, and that's going to go to our louvers on the front. Now along here, we're going to have these clips that hold everything in place. Just want to get those popped up and out as well, and that's going to free up our harness to go along with our bumper. Get all those removed. Set that aside for now. Now on the back of our bumper, we're going to have these nuts. We're going to have 21 millimeter nuts. We're going to have two on this side, which is the outside of the frame, and then one on the inside. These are all going to be 21 millimeter. Now I'll just go ahead and back these off on both sides. Now when you get down to your last ones, what I like to do is leave one nut just loosely on one of the studs. That way it holds our bumper in place. So when we remove the rest, we can just kind of hold it up, and then we'll end up taking that one off by hand when we remove our bumper away from our vehicle. With an extra set of hands, we could go ahead and remove our bumper. You want to be holding up on it. It can get a little bit heavy. So now I'm just taking the last nut off by hand. And once we pull this back, we want to kind of keep an eye on, make sure we don't have any more wiring harnesses. And we don't. So now we can just get our bumper set out of the way. With our bumper out of the way, we're going to have our toe loops on the front. We're going to have two 15 millimeter bolts that go through this, and on the inside of our frame, there's going to be a little plate that comes out with it. Now we're not going to be reusing our bolts or our loop or the plate inside, so we'll just get all of that out of the way on both sides of our truck. We can get our base plates set up now, and we're on our driver's side, and these are going to be side specific. So you're going to want your safety cable loops towards the outside of the vehicle. So in this part right here, which is going to be this bracket that comes up the side of the frame, is what we're going to end up using for a template. So what we have is we have for our hardware, we have our inner plate, and this is going to slide up on the inside of our frame. And then we have our long bolt and our short bolt with a split washer on each one of those. We're going to take Loctite, get it on both of our bolts. Now that we have that, we can take our plate, slide that into our frame, and line it up as best we can with the holes in the bottom of our frame. Now, as you can see, we're going to have a shorter area to go through our base plate here and a wider section. So obviously, our shorter bolt is going to go through this rearmost hole. You just want to get everything held in place, and this part can be a little tricky because our base plate can get a little heavy. Just want to bring our bolt through our frame. Now just want to get a couple threads started on our bolt. Then we'll come back through with our long bolt. Bring that up through and get that one threaded into the front nut of the plate. We can come back through and snug down our 2 bolts, and one of the things we want to do is get it brought up to the frame and make sure we have it as straight as we can get it here in the front. I like to go by the front of my frame tube and just kind of make sure I'm straight with the front of my base plate tube, and I'll go from that. Now I'll just come through, snug these down. With our base plates in place and snugged up tight, we're going to use this upper bracket of our base plate as a template, and we're going to drill through this hole here, and then we're going to go all the way through and then through the other side, and we'll end up bolting clear through there. Now on ours, we do have a cooler here, and we don't want to punch into that, so I have a piece of board there, and I'm just going to pay close attention when I get through this, start getting through this other side. I won't put as much pressure on it, and I'll just pay attention to what I'm doing, and I'll do that on both sides. Now I'm going to take a 17/32 drill bit and start going through here. With this side, you can actually come through and run a smaller pilot hole if you want to, but what I'm going to do is just start drilling through with my 17/32 bit. And we want to keep this straight as we can, so when we get all the way through, it's nice and straight. It makes it easier for a bolt to go through. So once we get past this part, I'm going to go ahead and start looking in through here to make sure I'm nice and straight across when I start my other side. Now for our hardware, we're going to have these spacers. We've got our holes drilled through both ways. Now this one, it don't quite want to fit here, so what I'm going to do is just pry it back a little bit, and I want to drop this down and through and line it up. Or you can bring it up and in, whichever way works best for you. Get that lined up with the hole. Then we're going to take our bolt, run the bolt through into the other side. Now keep in mind, we are going to have red Loctite on all of our hardware that we're installing, and I do have that on our bolt. So we're going to take another spacer and we're going to put that on the end of our bolt that came through our frame. We're going to follow that up with a lock washer and a nut, both of which are from our kit. Now that when you're installing the nut, it's usually easier to spin the bolt size to get that all started on. And try and run it down as far as you can by hand. And we'll follow that procedure on the other side. After we have all of our hardware in place, we'll come back through and we'll torque everything down to the specifications listed in our instruction manual. Now keep in mind, you're going to have 2 different types of hardware here, so make sure you pay attention to what they have listed in the manual. And if you don't have a torque wrench, you can always pick one up here at eTrailer. We do have a few options available, or you could most likely rent one at your local auto parts store. On the inside of our bumper, where our toe loops were, you're going to have this little cover kind of trim piece. Those just come right out. You can just lift those out and get those out of the way. We won't be reusing those. Now there's a couple things we're going to do behind our bumper before we get it reinstalled, and one of the things is we're going to have this bracket, which is a really nice touch that I like with this, and what it'll do is instead of trying to figure out where you're going to put your wiring, this gives you a place to mount your plug and also a place to mount your whatever type of airline system you have for air brakes if you're doing air brakes, or you can use this tab here as well for your breakaway switch. You can just bend the tab and put that here. So what we're going to do is we're going to have 4 10mm nuts back behind our bumper. We're just going to get those removed and get our bracket put in place. I'll just get that set over top of the studs behind our bumper. Get everything lined up and centered where we want it. Go ahead and put the nuts back in place. Once we have those in place, we'll come back through and snug those all down. And also behind our bumper, we're going to have this inner strip that's behind where our hook is, and we just need to measure down a 1/2 inch below that, and we're going to trim that out, and that's going to make room for our base plate. Now I'm just going to use my reciprocating multi-cutter and just work along my lines on both sides and get those cut out. Now when you do this, be sure not to go through too far, because on the back side of that is your air dam, and you don't want to cut through that because you'll see that from the outside. For the air intake for our shutters in the front, we're going to need to trim this out. So on our driver's side, I've got it marked out everywhere I'm going to trim. And then on the inside, you can see as well where we're going to be coming across and just removing this section. So what I'm going to try and do is cut along these two upper parts, and if you can see right here, I'm just going to cut right across this line, and you can tell that this clicks in. So instead of cutting all that, I'm going to try and cut along here, and then I'll just pop that part off. With everything trimmed up on our bumper and the front of our air dam, we're going to go ahead and start a few more things for our flat toe setup. We're going to have some wiring and stuff we're going to need to do behind here, so we're not going to install our bumper yet. Normally, if you had all of that done, you could go ahead and get your bumper put in place, but for now, we're going to start on those other projects. Now we have our bumper and everything back in place, and everything looks good and installed. That'll do it for our look at our installation of our Roadmaster base plate on our 2025 Ford F-150. I'm Scott with eTrailer, and thanks for watching.